The Nazi movement fed off Germans.
There you go.
Political Zionism is the greatest enemy of the Jews. Political Zionism is the ultimate dialectic, and Theodor Herzl understood this. I must warn you, what you are about to hear is truly evil. It is essential that the sufferings of the Jews become worse. This will assist in the realization of our plans. I have an excellent idea. I shall induce the anti-Semites to liquidate Jewish wealth. The anti-Semites will assist us thereby in that they will strengthen the persecution and opposition of the Jews. The anti-Semites shall be our best friends. Frankism is the basis of political Zionism, which expressed itself in the Russian Revolution. Karl Marx's real name was Moses Mordecai Levy. Vladimir Lenin was born Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, which is of Jewish lineage. Leon Trotsky's real name was Lev Davidovich Bronstein. The Rothschilds finally succeeded in making good on the threat to remove the Romanov dynasty from power through the Frankist Bolsheviks they controlled. Adolf Hitler was offered as the manufactured solution to the burden imposed upon Germany by the Treaty of Versailles. The event Hitler created to take control of Germany was engineered through a false flag attack. We now know that Hitler had his henchmen set fire to the German parliament, known as the Reichstag, in 1933. The fire was blamed on communist agent Marinus van der Lubbe in a huge show trial. In reality, van der Lubbe was a mentally handicapped individual picked up off the streets. Hitler's mighty war machine was funded and created by Wall Street. The Treaty of Versailles induced Germany to default on its debt. The Dawes Plan replaced the treaty after 5 years and allowed links to be made between American and German industry and finance. From the mid-1920s to the late 1930s, through the Bank of International Settlements, over $135 million was loaned to the German electrical, steel, and chemical industries from Wall Street. The profits on these loans were considerable. Without the technology for extracting petroleum from the German coal fields supplied by Rockefeller-owned Standard Oil of New Jersey, the Nazi war machine would have run out of gas. One of the funders of the Nazi war machine was Prescott Bush, father and grandfather of 2 U.S. presidents. According to files from the U.S. National Archives, Prescott Bush was a partner in Brown Brothers Heroin. This was one of the corporations used by industrialist Fritz Thyssen to move assets between America and Germany. Prescott Bush's assets in Union Banking Corporation were seized under the Trading with the Enemy Act in 1942, after America entered the war. The Bush family fortune was built in part from funding the very enemy that would kill over 400,000 American troops.
May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope. Our distinguished guest for this evening is the Honorable Prescott Bush, United States Senator from Connecticut.
I think we have made, just in this year, very marked and noticeable progress in connection with the Cold War. Included in that, too, should be our efforts to get at this subversion business within our own government.
The ideologies of the Nazis and the communists were set against each other by the Illuminati financiers in a dialectical struggle. Both ideologies are flawed and use the same means to produce the same result. The Illuminati financiers chose to eliminate the Nazi movement and preserve communism for one very important reason. Hitler started to print money just like the Federal Reserve. At this point, all of Europe was tied up in war with itself. The problem and reaction stages of World War II would only be solved through America. America entered World War II based on the Pearl Harbor attack that was allowed to happen and deliberately made worse. The Japanese signals indicating the time, place, and resources to be used in the attack were remotely intercepted and sent to President Roosevelt. President Roosevelt chose not to relay the information to Pearl Harbor. America now had the excuse to attack Germany, even though Germany never attacked America. The Japanese were ready to surrender in February 1945, but 2 nuclear bombs were dropped on them after this date instead of being used in Europe. The madness of World War II accomplished several things for the Illuminati financiers. Profits could be generated by rebuilding Japan and using it to provide cheap labor to flood America with inexpensive goods. This would accelerate the long-term planned process of bringing down America, just as China is being used to help finish the job today. Communism was allowed to consume half of Europe in order to lock America and the Soviet Union in a new dialectical struggle and a new opportunity for profit. Most importantly, World War II paved the way to create the United Nations and the Nation of Israel. It must be noted that the top 4 players of World War II had ties to the occult. Hitler was deeply involved in the black arts. He joined a group focused on esoteric teachings called the Thule Society. This is where the logo for the Nazi Party came from. The occult foundation of Nazi philosophy was laid by Dietrich Eckart, not by Adolf Hitler. Joseph Stalin was involved in Freemasonry. Here we see him giving the same sign of the hidden hand, the same hand sign of Freemasons, Napoleon, and Solomon Rothschild. Franklin Roosevelt was a 32nd degree Mason. Winston Churchill was a member of 2 Masonic lodges, including a Druidic lodge. When you look at a photograph of the 3 main characters involved at the Yalta Conference in February 1945, keep in mind that all 3 were Freemasons. The United Nations was the second prearranged attempt at world government, offered as the solution to future conflicts like World War II. To help prevent the pivotal United States from backing out of the United Nations, as it did with the League of Nations, the UN was to be located on American soil with land graciously donated by John D. Rockefeller Jr. Through its domination of the American media, the CFR conditioned the United States to accept the increasing role of the UN in the drive for world government. Political Zionism, a tool of the Rothschilds, clearly expressed the desire to create Israel long before World War II. This is documented in the Balfour Declaration of 1917. Arthur James Balfour of the British Foreign Office announced that it was the will of His Majesty's government to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine. This official policy was given to the World Zionist Federation of Great Britain, headed by Lord Rothschild, over 30 years before Israel was created. James Balfour, a willing tool of the British Freemasonic crown, was awarded many Masonic royal titles for this and other services rendered. Political Zionism used and magnified the anti-Semitism of the Nazi movement to create Israel. As soon as Hitler took power in 1933, many Jews around the world boycotted German goods. The political Zionists in Palestine negotiated a secret deal with the devil. In return for the transfer of 60,000 Jews and $100 million to Palestine, political Zionists would halt the worldwide Jewish-led anti-Nazi boycott that threatened to topple the Hitler regime in its first year. Over 40 million Chinese died in a 25-year period under the dictatorship of Mao Zedong, yet all you probably know is the phrase 6 million Jews. If you question the scope and purpose of the Holocaust, you will be labeled a Holocaust denier. The Holocaust of the Jews has been ground into the public consciousness by the political Zionists who used and inflated its horror to justify their goal. Theodor Herzl's dream was realized when the flag he proposed, based on the Rothschild hexagram, flew over Israel in May 1948.
Chapter 30, but I'm too that.
To this day, I don't know what happened. From August 2nd August 4th, 1964 in the Constitution.
What? Oh, yeah.
The general provided the answer, saying his Navy attacked the Maddox on August 2nd. But on the 4th, nothing happened. There was absolutely nothing, he said. The revelation may be important to historians. They have argued for years that the second incident on August 4th never occurred. But Lyndon Johnson used it to justify air attacks on Vietnam and broaden the scope of the war.
Events afterwards showed with our judgment that we've been attacked.
That's what it was. Jim Morrison's father kept talking to the skew.
Didn't happen.
The initial attack on the destroyer Maddox on August 2nd was repeated today by a number of hostile vessels attacking 2 U.S. destroyers with torpedoes. Repeated acts of violence against the armed forces of the United States must be met not only with alert defense, but with positive reply.
Heart attack.
Well, just how it goes, how.
No, I got from you. I'll just let you know.
Uh-oh.
The Vietnam War was
The wars against Asian communism for 30 years
So fairly
were
about
symptoms of a
them.
much larger
You see about
problem.
Al-Qaeda,
The problem
that,
was that the
you see
Illuminati
the
financiers
whatever.
were using a new dialectic to control the world.
A new dialect.
By pitting the capitalist West against the communist East, the world was locked in a state of bipolar tension with little
Bipolar
chance of
tension,
truly
that's what
breaking
I'm
free.
suffering from.
The arms race between America and Russia was the best symbol of this tension. Russia was given the tools and technology to make the atom bomb by the American establishment in 1944. In spite of this, Russia and America spent over $5 trillion on weapons that would have guaranteed mutually assured destruction many times over. In his closing speech to the nation in January 1961, President Eisenhower warned about the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, that's what JC
Until the
meant.
latest of our
I'm
world
pretty
conflicts,
sure.
the United States had
Probably it doesn't say it so explicit as you'd like.
American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense system.
Yeah.
Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development. Yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic process.
Yeah, probably the
We
last
should take something
president
for
they had.
granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can propel the proper measures of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods. So that security and liberty may prosper together.
There's an idea.
We didn't listen to him then. We still aren't listening now. The Illuminati financiers planned for the failure of communism. Communism as a system is guaranteed to fail without support. It failed in 1989 through the symbology of the fall of the Berlin Wall. China was busy by this time producing goods for the capitalist West. In 50 years, the planet went from a multipolar world to a bipolar world to a monopolar world. In the meantime, 3 more secret societies emerged to help manage the planet without your awareness or consent. The time to encourage another war would soon be around the corner. The Bilderberg Group got its name from the Bilderberg Hotel in Oosterbeek, Holland, the site of the group's first modern meeting. It was founded by Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands in 1954, though its practices can be traced back to the Knights Templar.
It's
The
water.
Bilderberg Group was originally concerned with a regional Europe for the benefit of its members at the expense of national sovereignty. Over time, its scope has broadened to include balanced membership mainly from NATO countries. Many members of the CFR are also members of the Bilderberg Group. Once a year in 5-star hotels between Europe and North America, around 100 influential people gather together to determine the future of the planet for the next 1 or 2 years. The membership and accomplishments of the Bilderberg Group have been impressive. Presidents are chosen by this group.
Yes.
When Queen Beatrix and David Rockefeller get together at a Bilderberg meeting, you are looking at the 2 people on the planet who control the lion's share of the world's oil supply. The 2008 oil price and credit boom and bust were planned events according to leaks from the Bilderberg Group in 2006. The Bilderberg Group also created the European Union. The Club of Rome promotes peace and prosperity, but does so in a way that advances world government at the expense of national sovereignty. It was founded in April 1968 by Aurelio Pecci, a prominent Italian industrialist. Affiliations with the Club of Rome have included members of the Rockefeller family and the CFR. Of all the globalist organizations we have encountered so far, the Club of Rome is the group which is the most heavily involved in the New Age movement, regardless of its size. This group specializes in promoting neo-feudalism to justify social and economic control.
Trilateral Commission.
The Trilateral Commission was created in 1973 by David Rockefeller to law the As more congressmen and informed citizens became aware of the CFR and the Federal Reserve during the 1950s and 60s, global planners realized that they had to be more covert. Their American and European money would have to be sent to Japanese industrialists and Arab oil magnates who would use it to buy up Western businesses and real estate. With this system in place, economic woes in the West resulting from the globalists' control could then be blamed on the Japanese and Arabs. Arab leaders who couldn't agree on anything for centuries suddenly came together to create the OPEC oil embargo of 1973. High gas prices made the Americans flock to Japanese cars. This system of Western, Eastern, and Middle Eastern trade promoted global interdependence and made lots of money.
Lots and lots of money.
Saddam Hussein became the new target of the Illuminati financiers with the collapse of communism in 1989. White House Special Envoy Donald Rumsfeld met Saddam in December 1983. Rumsfeld gave Saddam the gas he used to kill thousands of his own people, but that didn't matter to the elite. What did matter was that Saddam was pumping too much oil to get rid of his foreign debt. This lowered oil prices by flooding the oil market, angering OPEC nations. It also lowered the value of the US dollar because it was the world's reserve currency and oil is traded in US dollars. Saddam was becoming independent and had to be stopped. US Ambassador to Iraq, April Glaspie, met Saddam in July 1990. When Saddam asked the ambassador what the American response would be if he were to invade Kuwait, the ambassador replied, "We have no opinion on the Arab conflicts, such as your dispute with Kuwait." Saddam bit on the bait and invaded Kuwait 1 month later. Operation Desert Storm followed in 5 months in January 1991. Saddam's army was destroyed in 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
Kuwaiti nurse testified. Daughter of signed criminals. Also in the United States and Canada.
Our mission was called a successful failure, and that we returned safely but never made it to it. For the following months, it was determined that damaged coil built inside the oxygen sparked during the prior spark caused the explosion that crippled the oxygen. It was a minor defect. It occurred 2 years before I was even Hayes' replacement. Fred Hayes was going back to the moon on Apollo 18, but his mission was canceled because of budget cuts. He never flew.
All right, we are now led to understand that there are also firings in another city in Saudi Arabia. CNN's Carl Rochelle is here with me, just came up. Carl, I know we can't be very specific given these restrictions, but within those parameters, what did you see?
What I said, you didn't see anything hit. I looked very almost straight above us, and there's a vapor trail coming from my right to my left, and there's a cloud of something that looks like it might have been an explosion, a cloud. What's that? My apologies for he's putting on a gas mask. There hasn't been any gas dropped here that we could tell. No. You may smell some of the fumes from a missile exhaust going off.
When will we be going back?
Still not convinced. Yeah. I think if you watch one movie about that whole shit,
So much.
it's asking about that.
You can tell it by its distinctive label.
Yeah.
Now, when the missile is launched, the first thing you look for is the plume sticking out behind it. Now, when you detect this, you can tell it's been launched. Thank you.
Have you sniffed any rocket fumes lately? You got a gas mask around, bud?
Oh, I get it. Oh, I see. That's good. And
I thought it was.
They took the babies out of incubators.
That's true enough.
Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
And they had kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so that Kuwait could be systematically dismantled. It's a proud day for America, and by God, we've kicked Vietnam syndrome once and for all. Thank you very, very much.
Saddam's baited invasion meant that the nation of Iraq and its rich oil reserves could be held indefinitely as ransom by motorists from Nigeria. But this was not enough for the elite. George Herbert Walker Bush, member of the Harlem Grove Guns, was followed by Nazis, sick of the intentions of the Illuminati. His New World Order speech